The repercussions and the fallout. I'm Christy Birchville, and we are looking at Daniel chapter 6. We're working our way through this incredible book, and chapter 6 is the story that many people have heard before of Daniel and the lion's den. Verses 23 and 24, we're coming to the end of this section. Daniel has been saved. He made it through the night. The lions didn't eat him. And the king has realized that the men who encouraged him to make this law were really just jealous of Daniel. So here we have kind of the repercussions of the actions those men had taken to get the king to make this law. Daniel chapter 6 verse 24 says, "At the king's command, the men who had falsely accused Daniel were brought in and thrown into the lion's den, along with their wives and children. And before they reached the floor of the den, the lions overpowered them and crushed all their bones." Now, if we think about this, we have all had that moment. You know, that moment when someone does something that's really vengeful or spiteful and hurts us and makes us angry. And we've had that moment where we really just want to see them destroyed. We want revenge. It is completely natural to feel that way. Problem is, as followers of Jesus Christ, what comes natural shouldn't be what we focus on. We need to focus on what comes from the divine. When you read this verse and you understand, at first glance, it can be really exciting to see these men who were trying to get down, they got theirs, and they got, who ordered them put in the lion's den? It wasn't Daniel. You don't see Daniel off to the side whispering to the king saying, "Hey, those people, you should really get them." Daniel didn't do that. These men experienced consequences of their actions because they had deceived the king, and the king was the one who decided that they would be destroyed. It wasn't Daniel. We need to recognize, and there's really two key points from this passage. The first, we're not to be the ones seeking retribution. It's not our responsibility to make sure that the people who've hurt us get hurt. God is the one that is ultimately responsible for that, and we need to trust His timing and His process for making that happen. Secondly, when the king issued this decree, it wasn't just the men who had enacted this law that got the retribution. It also included every single person who was associated with them. We need to recognize we're going to be held accountable based on our associations, not just our actions. I know in Western culture, it seems really harsh to think about the idea that the families of these men were punished as well. In other cultures that are more community-based, it kind of goes with the territory. That's how things go. But in more individualistic-based societies, it's really hard to think about this fact that we are held accountable for the actions of someone else who is around us. But that's exactly what we need to understand. Our associations matter, and we are going to be held accountable based on who we associate with. How does that change the way we need to modify our associations today? When we take a look at who we associate ourselves with at work, what does that look like? Do we associate with people who spread values that are godly and that seek to glorify the Lord in everything they do? If not, we're going to be held accountable based on our associations. What are we seeking in terms of our own personal retribution? Are we allowing God to be the one to determine retribution and repercussions for actions? We're to seek and glorify Him first. Ultimately, He addresses every other situation that we will encounter. Now, this story, there's been a lot of pieces to this story. So if you've missed any of those, there's a link in the description. It will take you to the entire playlist for this whole series through the book of Daniel. Make sure you check that out. You don't want to miss anything that God is sharing through this series. And additionally, make sure that you subscribe. You don't want to miss anything as we continue through this book. There's several chapters left, and we'll finish through. So I will see you tomorrow.